When I was growing up, like literally to take the city bus to wherever I had to go, it was probably like an 80% chance I'm gonna get to a fist fight. I went to high school for probably about 10 weeks, and then my mom told me, hey, school's not for everybody. If you wanna make money, then you don't gotta go. You have to be able to read people. You have to understand people. So that's really just how you just maneuver. You could literally watch anybody walk by, probably tell you what drugs they do, if they do drugs, this person doesn't do, or what they like. I could just watch people walk and kind of figure out who they are.
What is the strategy, or what do you think needs to change for you to go to a 7-figure a year to 8 figures a year to get into 9-figure to building?
That's gonna boil down to.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Leaders Talk podcast. If you're watching this, we recorded it in March, but Women International Month, so you guys are not going to see it in March. But I hope you guys did enjoy that series. If you guys didn't watch it, go watch it. A lot of powerful CEOs, mayors, entrepreneurs, big time people, billion-dollar company people. Go check that out. But today, I think it's fair to say we have the king of scalp micropigmentation. Not only in Miami, I don't want to limit that, not only in the United States, but like we said, in the whole world. You have clients in every continent. I think you mentioned last year you crossed over 7 figures in revenue.
Yeah. Well, the last 4.5 years.
7 figures in revenue.
Yeah.
The most interesting part is where you started, though.
Yeah.
Because you didn't start doing all this stuff. You started in high school cutting hair for $10, 15 years old, ended
Yeah.
up dropping out, got your GED, and then
Yeah.
went down the path. That's what I think is the most
Yeah.
interesting and powerful part.
Yeah.
But guys, please, special interview, Taylor Perry. Thank you
Appreciate
very
it, man.
much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So that's kind of something that we haven't heard from you. And I really want to dive deep into that because, like we spoke off camera, I think
Yeah.
a person's upbringing, their childhood, the people that they were surrounded by, it all adds into who they're gonna become later.
Yeah. You're building your character as a kid and as a person. You're curating your own self as you grow. So
What
it all
was
plays a big role.
what was your early childhood like?
Um, I mean, growing up, so I have four brothers and I have two adopted brothers. There's a lot. So I mean, it's gonna be like cliche, right? You hear so many, oh, we grew up with nothing and da da da. Well, I thought I had a great life growing up. I was happy, even though we weren't rich.
Mhm.
Like I didn't bother me or nothing like that. Um, as I got older and was becoming an adult, I realized it was pretty fucked up. But back then I didn't. And then like everything that I have today, I want to really tell you it is all organic. It just it just happened. It wasn't like nothing was forced, suppressed. It just growing up, everything I accumulated while I was growing up is what I have now.
When you say you didn't have nothing, specifically, where were you from? Like,
So I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida. The first till I was about like 15 years old. I grew up in East Hollywood. It's about right at Broward County. And then I moved back to Miami when I was like 15, 16 years old, moved to Carroll City. And I mean, back then I was already working in a barbershop. So pretty born and raised down here.
I know, and you can tell me if you don't want to talk about it, but like you spoke on the phone, you didn't have a lot of good influence growing up.
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, I have two older brothers. Uh, they're both career criminals, so those were my idols. Those were my mentors. Um, I watched Master P and Too Short, and those were my those were my role models. You know, so as far as I was concerned, like I never told anybody I was a barber. I was kind of like I was pretty whack. Like now it's cool, but
Yeah.
back then I was whack. Like I want to be I want to be a dope boy or a pimp. And that was what was idolized, growing up back then.
It's crazy how much your surrounding and everything plays a toll on you because I'm gonna be honest. I think I was growing up in a bubble in a way, right? Like
Yeah,
I don't know. Like when people talk about stuff that goes on in the inner city, when people talk about stuff that like crime, to me, I'm like I've never seen anybody steal anything in front of my face. Like I haven't seen anything in my life. Like to me, that's not normal.
shit.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I
Uh,
think that puts a different level of armor in it. Your thinking process is a lot different than someone who didn't.
Yeah, so it's crazy too, because like this generation, you hear people talking about bullying and all this stuff. I'm like, what the hell? Like, man, you guys got it good. When I was growing up, like literally to take the city bus to wherever I had to go, it was probably like an 80% chance I'm gonna get into a fist fight just because I'm a white kid on a bus going through Carroll City. But I didn't feel like I got bullied. I didn't, it was just normal. My brothers told me, oh, you got to hit him first. And that's just what it was. Totally normal. That was just life. Then I just realized now,
Right.
like these kids, I'm like, man, you guys have no clue, man. I would never change anything, but I was just normal, you
That's
know.
crazy to be for something like that to be normal. How do-
You don't know anything else, you know.
And I think that's what it is. People don't know anything else, especially when you're a child, when you're obviously growing up, because you don't have a choice. It's not
Yeah,
like you have a
yeah,
choice. Hey, I want my mother to be like this. I want to grow up in this city. I want to grow up with these rich parents. Like you really don't have a choice. And a lot of people can take it either or way, right? I grew up in Carroll City. I didn't have money. I didn't have the opportunity, so I can never have it.
yeah,
Or I grew up in Carroll City. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the opportunity. I want it, so let me figure out a way
yeah.
to get it. And I think that's the route that you took.
Yeah, I was ambitious. I was hungry. I was like, I wanted to just, I see TV, you see movies, and I was just like, well, I want that too.
Was that normal where you came from? Like, was everybody around you hungry or no?
Nah, I was just always ambitious, super ambitious. And I mean, like even when when I was cutting hair, I was cutting hair in the beginning of ninth grade, right? So I would take the city bus from 56 in Washington, where I
Mhm.
lived in Hollywood, where my parents' house was. Take the city bus all the way to Carroll City, all the way to 67th Ave to the barber shop and cut hair. It was normal. I just would have, I remember waking up every morning like, if I got to go to work, I got to make money. But then when you get to the bus stop, you're like, ah, shit, I hope I don't got to get into a fight today, And then hopefully you make it there without getting into a fight. But that was just, there was like nothing to it. That's what you did.
It's crazy. Like maybe it is because I grew up in a bubble, but I really not a good living, but it's crazy when you say something like that because that's something out of a movie for me, you know? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it can be, yeah. It's different now.
do you ever think about your upbringing and really like, damn, that made me who I am? Like all those times that I had
I've
to,
had, so it's like I don't talk about it much. It's not something that I like to brag about, well, at least on camera.
in
Because like I definitely like my childhood was pretty fun. It was an action-packed movie, and
what way?
well, I got two older brothers. One's in his late 50s, the other one's just turned 50. I'm 39, so I got like the last bit of like that really good era. So getting to like tag along uh, with the one that just turned 50, Big Cheese. So he pretty much raised me and just took me with him everywhere he went. So I really got a taste of like that good era at a young age.
You also mentioned that at 13 is when you started cutting hair.
Yeah, so the whole barber thing was just totally organic. We needed haircuts. My parents took me to a barber shop maybe one time in my entire life. My mom would cut me and all my brothers on the porch, and everybody would be riding their bikes by laughing at us, getting like the little, you know, soup bowls. And me and my best friend growing up were like, we saved up some money. We bought a pair of used clippers from the barbershop, and we started cutting each other's hair. Then we started cutting everybody up in the neighborhood. By the time ninth grade came, I was like, I would have a line outside of my house.
You had a new Cadillac too, no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, I bought a brand new Cadillac. And that was like right before I turned 16 years old. I bought a brand new Cadillac. I didn't even have a driver's license.
Yeah.
But so cutting hair at that age, and then somebody came to my house, the owner of a barbershop, offered me a job in the barbershop. And I was like, I'm not good enough. And he's like, yeah, yeah, you're good enough. You're making noise. He's like, I keep hearing about you. He's like, I'm gonna give you a job. And I'm like, all right. So like I went to high school for probably about 10 weeks. And then my mom told me, hey, school's not for everybody. If you want to make money, then you don't got to go. I was like, all right, don't tell
Isn't
me
that kind
this.
of validating to hear that from your mom? Because a lot of times moms will say, keep going to school, keep going to school.
Different era, I could say. My mom's really old school, old fashioned. Nobody in my family has an education. And for her, that was, you know, nobody in my family like has college degrees and stuff like that. So for her, if you work, you got to work regardless. So just go to work now.
When you did start at such an early age, like you said, you decided to drop out of high school,
Mhm.
ended up getting your GED, but dropped out of high school. Was there any fear that, hold up, this may not work out? What if I did
Nah,
make a
bro.
mistake that I
No,
dropped out
there
of high
was no
school?
other options. There was like you needed money, and I was like cutting hair, $10 a haircut. I do 10 haircuts a day. I get $100. I'm like, oh shit, hell yeah, I'm gonna cut hair. And my thing was, I want to get $100 a day. There's no like, college was not even a thought, not even for my parents. That's not realistic. So this was the only thing that was realistic is working.
Where, and do you think your work ethic came from watching your parents?
Mhm.
Or where did
My
that
mom,
desire to make money, to
well,
work, like
my
where did that come from?
my mom cleans houses for a living, or used to. She doesn't work no more.
Okay.
She cleaned houses for a living. My dad was a construction worker, not really around. So there was not like, I told you, my role models was like Master P, Too Short. My older brother was a pimp, and that's what I saw. You know, I saw drug dealers and pimps and street stuff, and that was what you had to be.
Question, was there any principles from that life? Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I haven't really dived deep to ask somebody that lived that life or had people around them questions like that. Did the principles, anything of that world,
Absolutely.
apply to
Yeah.
what you're doing now?
So
And
it's
in what
crazy. I
sense?
was even telling my brother Mike that the other day is that so he was one of the biggest pimps in the United States for over 15 years. That was my father figure, my role model growing up. And everything I watched him do, obviously I was living, not a good life, back then. It's not really something I would consider promoting now or anything like that. But he was a very smart businessman. And watching him deal with all these people, even though we're in the streets, that's literally how I run my company now. And every way I do business now is literally from watching him as a kid. And what that's all about is just building relationships with people. Your word is literally all you have. So if he's told you he was doing something, he was going to do it. Whether it was good or bad back then, he's doing what he says. So, but that just translates into my life now. Whatever I say I'm going to do, I do it. And just really everything I have and every person I come in contact with or do business with,
Hmm.
it's literally all with personal relationships, and just learning how to deal with people. One of the biggest things of how I grew up, and the barbershop has a lot to play with it too, because, I was a little kid and I was basically raised obviously in the streets, but in the barbershop as well. So I was raised around older people than myself. I didn't have like really peers my age. Everyone I grew up with was at least 10 years older than me. So it really boils down to, especially in the barbershop, is dealing with people from all different walks of life. So you can be a street guy, you can be a judge, you could be a cop, you could be an athlete. Don't matter who you are. If you come sit in my chair, we're gonna have a great conversation, and I'm gonna look at you as a person.
Yeah.
I treat the janitor the same way I'll treat a celebrity. Like they're both the same to me. You know, like
And
I
those are
can learn
principles you
something
learn.
from both of those people. So I don't downplay anybody. You can like I learn all day long.
That's interesting. Learn, a lot of people talked about, there was a saying, I think Patrick Bet David said that,
I love that guy.
yeah, we're gonna get him on soon, hopefully. No, we will, we
You
will,
will. You will.
100%. I have him, we interviewed his realtor
You're
actually
definitely gonna.
the other day, so he said something that the marketplace rewards those who continuously outlearn and outwork everybody else. When you talk about your learning, kind of the transition for you was barbershop, let me make $100 a day. Okay, cool. Kind of getting stagnant, like you said. There was a
Yeah,
point in your career where
yeah,
we're like, okay, the barber route, it's either I keep doing this for the rest of my life, it's capped out, or I figure out something else to do.
hmm
And you got a hold of this, the scalp
yeah,
micropigmentation. And then the training came, it was like a constant evolution.
yeah.
When you decided to make the jump to barbershop, to S&P, to this, to training, what did you learn that enabled you to say, okay, this is the right next move? Like, what was it that you were thinking that said,
So one thing, for me, I only do what I want to do. I don't do things I do not want to do. I don't do it. And basically, what that stems from is I will never do anything half-ass. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do a shitty job. I'm not going to do it. So if I do something, I got to do it 100%. I got to give it everything I got. And to stop you from doing half-ass work, you only do what you want to do. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So if I don't have passion for something, I'm just going to be like, nah,
Did you feel the
that's
passion die out in the barber world?
I've in the barber industry, you can make a great living in the barber world, right? But there's all different outlooks, right? You can cut hair for cheap and do high volume. You can do low volume and very expensive stuff. You know, you could cut only celebrities. Like there's so many routes. I've tried every route possible. I've hated cutting hair. I've loved cutting hair. I've been ashamed that I was a barber. I've been proud that I was a barber. Like I went through every phase you could possibly think of. Towards the end of it, when I had my kids around 30 years old, and mind you, cutting hair since 15 years old to 30, it's a pretty long time,
Half a
right?
lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, yo, I don't want to do this no more. Like I love it, but I need, I would make like 500-600 bucks a day, which sounds good, but it's not good. You're still week by week, with kids and bills. And so I was like, I need a career change, but I don't know what to do, you know? And I was completely lost. Then when I stumbled upon scalp micropigmentation, immediately I was like, thank you. Thank you. This is it. Didn't know anything about it, didn't know any pricing. I didn't know I was going to make a lot of money from this. I just knew I was going to do this. The passion was there. So once I started doing that, and I was working 7 days a week, and I was charging. The thing was, I'm charging 10 to 40 bucks per client for a haircut. So now I know I can at least get more than that. So in my mind, all right, this is better. I'm going to make a little bit more, thinking a couple hundred. I didn't know the price point. So once I started doing this, and I'm doing everyone pro bono, I just want to get good. And then I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. Then I figured out the industry standard prices. It was like $3,000 per person. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do like 2, 3 clients a week and I'm gonna be straight. So within that first year, I did that. And I kept on growing and growing. The whole barbershop, I wanted to teach every single one of the barbers because they were like, we worked together for like 10 years. They're like family. And when I wanted to teach all of them, they're like, it's cool, but you ain't gonna make no money. I'm like, bullshit, you're crazy. And they're like, yeah, 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 you're wasting your time. I'm like, all right, cool. So within a year, I was doing S&P on my free time after hours. That quickly filled up. I was forced to get a storefront because I had no more available time. So I didn't open up a store hoping to make it. I opened up a store because I had to open up a store. Once I did that, you know, within like 2 months of having that location, I was already doing people from out of state, which I had no clue was going to happen neither. Just people calling me from social media. And the first year I had my storefront, we're talking a little teeny ghetto hole in the wall. It was dirty. I made it as nice as I could, but I took how I cut hair and I implemented it into scalp micropigmentation. Meaning I cut hair 10 hours, 12 hours a day. So I'm gonna do this 10, 12 hours a day, but now I'm doing it for $3,000 per person. And on top of that, in this industry, which is in its infancy.
Still to this day?
It's still in its infancy. Yeah, it's growing though. It's becoming mainstream, but it's still considered in the infancy. I noticed there was no barbers in it. I was one of the first barbers in the world to do this. Not the first, but about the second or third. Um, and I quickly realized none of these guys know how to deal with people. I've been dealing with people my whole life. So literally just connecting with people of how I was taught how to build relationships growing up. Within that first 12 months of my store, I cleared over 7 figures with like 10,000 followers on Instagram.
I don't think there is a risk in taking a risk. I think the risk is not taking the risk,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. If I don't try something, it's gonna bother me until the day I die. I have to fucking do it. If I want to do it, I have to do it.
And that's how you felt about the S&P.
Whether I fail or not, I have to do it. I have to try. And failing to me is not a bad thing. The more I actually fail at something, the more I want to do it and the closer I am to getting it right. So for me, failure, when you start failing, those are the perfect first footsteps. Like you have to learn. It's learning. Failure is a part of learning. It's not a bad thing.
When when you were when you look back at the first like year or two of you being the pioneer of this S&P, which now you said is a multi-billion
Yeah.
dollar industry, those first 2 years, what did you think of it? Like, did you see this? Like, did you already strategize? Okay,
No,
this how I'm gonna like. What was the?
absolutely not. I had no clue. I was just I had no clue down the line what it was, but everything I did was here, and then what's the next baby step? Next baby step, next baby step. And what you see is almost 7 years later of me doing little baby steps. And now we're here. But I didn't look like, I didn't know what this was going to evolve into. And then, a lot of people they don't understand like, oh, you got lucky, how you did that first year. Da, da, da. I didn't like that whole luck thing is like the biggest bullshit thing ever. It's like the people who are lucky, it's because they're prepared. Like they worked hard to be lucky. You're not just lucky. It's not just a lottery. Like the lucky ones are the ones that busted their ass and were prepared for those little opportunities. So like that first year, right, of my storefront when I cleared 7 figures was I had my product, right, which was providing scalp micropigmentation, did that to my best abilities possible. And then everything we learned as a kid, right? Please, thank you, good manners, look a man in his eye, shake his hand, everything that we were taught growing up in your first impression is now on the internet. It's not in person no more.
Your profile and your social media is now like the new
So the
handshake.
same way somebody holds a door for you and you're like, oh, thank you, and you walk through, is now on social media, right? So I just took, again, an Instagram account with 10,000 followers. I had no YouTube, I had no Facebook, none of that stuff. Simply Instagram, under 10K followers. I would go to like LA Fitness in North Miami, where I was living at. And I would just go on that hashtag of that location, like everybody's pictures, respond to all their videos, DM a couple people, just start conversations. And I would never sell. I would just start conversations. They'll be like, who's this guy that's like my pictures? They look on my page, they see what I do. Ooh. So now when I'm in the gym working out, like, yo, you're the guy that tattoos the line. I'm like, yeah. Oh shit, bro. I saw your page. That's crazy. And that's how I'd get my clients. It was just being social on social media, like just interacting with people.
That I don't think you realize, but that's extremely, extremely, extremely smart. That I think people you could watching this can still use that to this day. Finding the
To this day, it
hashtag,
works.
finding the hashtag with LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, whatever. That's just an example.
The
Looking
restaurants
at
you like going to in your neighborhood or next to your business.
that's
Everyone that tags they
really
were there, just like their pictures, start conversations. If somebody followed me, immediately I would DM them Yo, thank you for the follow. I appreciate the support. Any questions, yo, please let me know.
You know, that actually ties into you are a salesman at the end of the day. That's your
I'm just
business.
building
But
relationships.
that's, and I
Yeah.
think that's, and what I've experienced, at least with the marketing agency, with even the podcast, everything is sales. Everything is sales. Whether you're actually buying something or whether it's monetary, whether it's time, everything is sales. And I've realized the most success that I've had is when I genuinely focus on the relationship.
That's
Like
it,
you
bro.
figure out, and you know what I think, and I was talking about this today on an interview I did actually 2 hours ago. I think the key to sales is first figuring out, I don't even know if I can help you yet. I don't
Yeah, yeah,
even
yeah,
know
yeah,
if
yeah,
you're
yeah,
the person that I
yeah,
can
yeah.
do, like provide value to, versus they're used to like, yeah, buy this product. Yeah, it's a discount 5.99. Hey, yeah, we could do the
But
scalp
but
micropigmentation
even that,
cheaper than him. Like,
but even that, I don't ever do that. Say you need S&P, and I'm not going to tell you what sale I got or what deal I got for you, or even tell you what I can do for you. What I will tell you is I'm offering this special. If any of your friends know, I'll give you a referral fee. Let me know. I'm not selling you. There's no wall. There's no like, hold up.
putting
It's
their guard
like,
up. Yeah.
it's like, yo, if you want to make money, I'll give you $100 per referral. Any of your friends that might want this service, let me know. Or, and I would say stuff like that. I would never like, or we would start a conversation and I simply show you what I do. Look, check this out. Isn't this crazy? No one even knows this exists. Look what I do.
How'd you learn that? Like that
That's just
says,
normal. It's just common sense.
but it's not. You know what it is? Because you know what I think it is? People overthink it. And when I say people, I mean like I get hit a lot with sales people, and you
Yeah.
know salespeople when you feel the vibe. Like people don't like to be sold to. So when you have that vibe of like, hey, by the way, I do S&P for this amount, like send them the DM that way
Yeah.
as soon as they like it. It's like, okay, you were just
The guard's already
using
up.
me.
You're pushing on them.
Exactly.
I mean, the same thing like I get from being in the barbershop or growing up in like the streets is just you have to be able to read people. You have to understand people. So that's really just how you just maneuver. You know, I could literally watch anybody walk by. I don't even really need to hear them talk. I could probably tell you what drugs they do, if they do drugs, this person doesn't do, or what they like. I could just, you could just watch people walk and kind of figure out who they are. Especially if they start talking and you're listening, you'll figure out everything about everybody.
How? How do you?
Just you not talking and you listening, you'll figure out everything out about everybody.
Is that something you learned? The upbringing that you had? Is that something somebody
It's
told you?
something
Like
you, when you are raised in those environments, majority of people know how to do that. It's just,
that's an art. That's a master that I feel that I'm somewhat good at reading people in the sense of BS
yeah,
and sense of the
yeah.
like to that extent. To that extent, like reading if somebody does drugs or not, I don't know about that.
It's
Maybe
body language. It's body language. It's
everything is
still,
body language. Everything.
yeah. And then like honestly, like my attribute to success was just um doing what I do in real life on social media platforms. You know, I still don't have like a
Mm.
huge following or anything like that. I would
You
still,
have a good
but
following.
it's still considered a micro influencer for the most part, right? Um, and still to this day, I do everything that I told you what I used to. I still do that to this day. It's just part of my daily routine. You know, I'm just these platforms allowed me to have students globally, every single continent. I have helped somebody make a better career for themselves. I have gave scalp micropigmentation services to at least one person on every single continent. And that's all because I connected with them through social media platforms. You know, so it's very, very powerful. Like these cell phones that we have, anything you could think of is totally possible. And the smaller your account, the easier it is to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually, I think
It's
going back to what we said,
less intimidating.
it's less intimidating. I think a lot of people respect the hustle, and the people that do respect the hustle, they'll value it more in the sense of, I don't know, maybe this is me. I don't know. This what I like to believe is that people respect the hustle, especially when you're persistent, especially when you're like, yeah, he said no once, he said no, but you keep like,
Persistent, I like, well, persistence, yeah, is a good word, but I like consistent versus persistent.
Yeah.
Persistent can sound pushy. Consistent sounds not as pushy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm consistent. I will let you know what I do, but I'm not gonna like persistently DM you or push you or tell you. But I'm always gonna be here. I post once a day every day for the last 8 years. And I don't miss a day. It's just part of my routine. The same way you brush your teeth. I gotta post something on social media on all my platforms. One thing. So I'm not bothering nobody, but when you're on social media every day, you will see me, slide by. I'm here, but I'm not bothering you, so you're not gonna like unfollow me if you post. For me, I mean, it depends what niche you're in or what your objective is, right? You're into marketing, but if you post 5 or 6 times a day, for some people it might work depending on what they're trying to monetize on. For me, that would probably make people unfollow me.
Yeah.
But I'm always in the back of your mind.
It's Warren Buffett said something. It's not about share of price, it's about share of mind. When you
Yeah.
think about a soda, you think about Coke. When you think
Yeah.
about an amusement park, you think about Universal. When you think about a burger, you think about McDonald's. Share of mind. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I want to get to the entrepreneur side because what so far what I've taken from this interview, from hearing you speak, is a lot of the intangibles are the stuff that actually bring you success. It's not about creating the right system to say this, the right wording, to just going to the basics of what you learned in your upbringing. Make genuine relationships with people, like you said, be consistent with it,
Yeah.
and just stack up those small wins, like you said, small wins,
Small
small
steps,
wins,
baby
small wins,
steps.
small wins, and and part of that small wins, I think, is being patient, like incredibly patient.
That's for me, it's so hard. But yeah, it's very
But
important.
you had patience, whether you see it or not, you
Yeah.
had patience
Yeah. Yeah.
because you went 15 years, and I'm guessing towards the end of the 15 years, you're really like,
Yeah. It was like, oh, this whole globe, and I'm stuck in this little barber shop. This is prison. Like when I see barbershops now, and mind you, I'm still a barber. I just do S&P. I don't cut hair no more. But I never quit, you know? This is still part of barbering, in my mind at least. But when I walk by a barber shop, I look at them like, oh, I can't be there. Like, hell no. Like it just, it was a part of my life.
of course, for
But
anything, you have
uh,
phases in your life.
it's like it turned into prison for me.
That's
and
crazy.
and just everything. I've been really really lucky with like that word manifest that's constantly thrown around and used improperly. Like I consider myself pretty damn good at that. Like everything I do, it kind of like play in my mind like if I'm watching a movie. So everything I do in real life, I've already envisioned it, and then I go do it. And it's just really weird how stuff works. But it's just all part of like just taking what is around me and using what I need.
When you talk about your early entrepreneur, like at least starting the S&P, going from cutting hair for $10, what was some of those mistakes you made that really held you back a couple years if you didn't make that mistake, whether it was
Like in S&P.
not in S&P, but as an entrepreneur, like the way that you're thinking, the way that you're handling clients, something that
um as an entrepreneur, I would say, uh I mean, listen, bro, I've made boatloads of money, flat broke, boatloads of money, flat broke, boatloads of money, flat. It happens. It's kind of part of it. I think all entrepreneurs can probably say the same. If they don't, they might be lying. Like it happens. It's part of it where you take risks. Um, but I would say the worst scenario as an entrepreneur, as far as my thing would go, would just be uh, not focusing on like say like the money management or like really really being more business savvy. That back then I could have made it a lot faster, a lot sooner. But again, right, some people pay to go to college and some people don't, right? So like me, I probably paid the same amount of money that somebody paid to go to college. I just paid by making the mistakes in the real world. You know,
It's an interesting way to look at it. I never thought
it's
about it.
ultimately probably the same price. You know what I'm saying?
And another thing to add to that, I actually made it in a vlog today. You choose to pay the price now, or you're gonna pay it sometime. For example, right now, I'm 18. I'm hustling. The way I see it is that, okay, I don't have any responsibilities right now. My price is missing out on all college life, missing out on all that stuff. That's my
Nah, you ain't
price.
missing out on that.
Nah, I get that a
Yeah.
lot. You're not missing out on anything.
Yeah.
That's the price for me right now. But I know the price in 5 years, in 10 years is gonna be when I have a kid, when I have bills, when I have a house, when I have a mortgage, is gonna be,
Yeah.
hey, can you really take that risk? Can you really afford to go flat
Listen,
broke and like,
from your 20s, that's go time.
yeah.
You if you could think it, give it a shot. You know? Like I have kids, right? So at 30 and now I still am a risk taker. I usually don't take a risk unless I know I'm going to pull it off. It's still a risk though, but it's a lot different. I can't fail. I have, mortgages to pay. I have my own rent. I have my kid's house, mortgage. I have several car payments. Like I take care of a lot of people. So uh
You,
it's
failure is
more
not an option.
failure. You could say failure is not an option. It's just a different pressure, you know. One of the things I have really, really learned, right, is failure is ego. When you're scared to fail or you're so worried about, say, your business failing or whatever you're doing failing, that is ego. You have to give it your best. If it fails, I have the skills to build it back. You have to let go of the ego, you know? So, say Taylor Perry Studios collapsed. Guess what I'm going to do tomorrow? I'm going to build it right back because I have the skills and it'll be right back up, you know? Whether it takes 3 months or 2 years, it will be right back up. It's not luck, right?
Yeah.
It looks lucky, but it's not luck. It's actually skills.
Talking about the skills, I think the audience and I have gotten a good glimpse of where your mind has been from your upbringing to the transitions of feeling like a prison, as you say, feeling
Yeah,
like being in a prison with something that you used to like, you were looking forward to. The way out turned into your prison.
I still love cutting hair. I just grew out of it, and
Yeah,
that
no, I
made
think
me
it was a
feel
phase, and you know what I think it is. And there's a book, Blue Ocean Strategy. I don't know if you heard about it.
no.
What it talks about is a blue ocean and a red ocean.
Uh
A
huh.
red ocean is a me too or me better business, and then a blue ocean is a I'm different business.
Okay.
Barber, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Even if you're at the top, it's always just I'm better or me too. I am also a barber. It's
It,
just the nature
it's
of the
hard to
industry.
differentiate yourself
Yeah,
from the
even when
crowd.
you're good, there's another person that's really good, like,
Yeah.
and you taking the your energy, your hunger, your drive, your creativity, your learning
Hmm.
to another industry allowed you to create more opportunities, so a
Yeah.
next level of growth, and
Yeah.
not plateauing.
Yeah. Yeah. I stumbled upon an industry that uh, was this completely open field.
Literally, a blue
No,
ocean. That's why they say a blue
yeah,
ocean because
yeah.
an ocean is
Nothing to tie you. There's nobody in your way, nothing to tie you down.
exactly.
For me, it was just making people know how can I let people know what I do, And then it's crazy, man, because basically my whole career for the last almost 7 years is literally built upon helping people. So it's a whole nother vibe. There's a whole nother emotions tied into this. One, uh, especially when men go bald, is pretty devastating. That's almost like losing your identity. When women go thin, it's even worse, you know? So one, I'm helping people like feel confident. When they get the service done, it's like even their clothes look different. Like everything changes. They feel like they drank a Red Bull. It's just that
Yeah,
confidence. So that's an exchange of energy, right? And two, when people come in seeking some type of career change, which I want to tell you, what is it, 50 or 60% of America wants a career change? It's very high.
I haven't heard that statistic, but I'm gonna look
It's
into it.
look it up. It's around there. It's up. It's big, and helping people either change their career, or if you are in the beauty industry, the service I'm going to teach you is going to change your career. So that alone, helping people create more income, bro, you
The
have
energy that you get from
the
that.
energy exchange is absolutely insane.
I like what you say, that energy exchange, and I think that's how most top executives, top entrepreneurs, obviously there's exceptions,
Yeah.
but they really do see it as a energy transfer. Because at some point, once you have the mortgage cover over, once you have all these bills, once you have an excess 20, 30, 40, 50K a month, it's like, okay, everything else from here is just from my own
Yeah.
wanting, but that energy exchange is something interesting. And I'm gonna try, I'm gonna think about that in my own terms
It's
because it is powerful. I know what you're talking about, and even in the sense of like a podcast, like the energy exchange of like,
so you're into marketing, right? That's your bread
yeah,
and butter, marketing. So you might not realize this, but you could, I know you got days where you might feel burnt out or days where you don't love
yeah,
your
literally,
business.
yeah,
There's days you love it, and there's days you don't love it. But I guarantee you, I will bet anything I have that if you quit what you do right now and close your company, do you know how many people are going to cry and beg and tell you not to close because you help feed their families? Like they need you. You have no idea how many people, your clients, actually really depend on you. They love you, bro, even if they don't tell you.
yeah.
And you'll know that if you stop doing what you do.
I'm gonna call them and be like,
Seriously,
yo,
like you have no
yeah.
idea, like, what you do really actually helps people.
When you think about it that way,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of times you can get caught up in like the race of like to the 20, 30, 40
Yeah.
million, seven figures, like, and you forget the touch of like, hold up, what I'm doing is actually changing
Hmm.
the person's life. And you never put yourself in their position. Obviously you do, but you can get, it can be misted or clouded
Yeah.
because of the money.
And I even when I'm at like seminars and these shows, around the world,
Hmm.
the expos and stuff, and I have people come up to me that tell me, man, thank you, even though they might have trained with somebody else or didn't personally come to me. They're like, yo, I do this because of you. Like you inspired me to do this, or you inspired me to keep going. And I'm like, whoa, like seriously? Like I don't realize a lot of this stuff. And then every once in a while they'll call you or they give you a message or you meet them in person. You're
Yeah.
like, damn,
That's what it,
like what I'm doing, it really means a lot to certain individuals. It helps a lot of people. And
that's
it's
the biggest reward, I
it's
think.
almost like in a lot of niches, like even the marketing niche, like it's going to be very similar, you know.
I'm gonna call all my peoples after this. I mean,
Seriously,
hey, by the way, somebody told me that you'll
it's
cry if you leave me.
for real.
But I want to end it off on a prediction. I want you to predict what, and I'll place my money, and I would bet on you that in the next 5 years, company yearly is probably gonna do eight figures,
Oh,
100%.
I'm working on it, bro.
And I
I'm
want you to
working
explain. I
on it.
want you to say the prediction. What is the strategy, or what do you think needs to change for you to go to a seven figure a year, to eight figures a year, to get into a nine figure, to building?
That's gonna boil down to all of the lessons and failures I've had in the past. It's really structuring the business, and like how the difference between then and now is those baby steps I was telling you about. Now I have, say, the 8-figure target. That's my target. It's all the way over there, right? And then I create the target, which is the 8 figures, and now I work my way all the way back here. So I work backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my baby steps are already planned. You get your big target and you work backwards and then build it back. In actuality.
So give me an example. How would that look like?
So 8 figures, right? So that means multiple locations, multiple employees, uh, globally, right? And then from there, what would be the next step before that? And then what would be the
Mm.
next step before that?
So you know all the
And then
steps
what
laid
would be
out.
the yeah, and you keep saying what's the next step to get to this big step. And you just keep going back until we're right here standing.
That,
And it can
working.
even be back to like, okay, you know what? To start to make this, first thing I need now is a fucking CRM. I get a CRM. Now I need to scale marketing. Boom. Now I need 5 more employees. Boom. Now I need 10 guys on the phone making outbounds. Boom. And you just keep
And
building.
I like that you say that because, and this is a perfect way that I want to end it for, I don't know, maybe put down in the comments if some of you guys watching this are entrepreneurs, but a large part of growth, especially when you're an entrepreneur, when you're an executive, these big people, like you said, reinvesting. And sometimes it's not the most expensive things, but it's stuff like that, like a CRM, as a
Yeah.
personal assistant, 5 salesmen, like, you know what I'm saying?
Reinvesting can be time. It doesn't even have to be money. And one of the things that, like, if this could help anybody that's even watching, um, no matter how big you get, you always have to lead from the front. You cannot lead from the back. You have to lead from the front. That's the only way to keep your team strong.
Leading from the front.
Meaning, I still do everything that everyone else does. I've played every role. I played marketing role. I do the procedures. I taught classes. Every role in my company, I have done. And I know what everybody needs to do, you know?
And it gives, and I also think it gives the other person a sense of comfort and belief, but also you have some sort of a leverage because I've done exactly what you did, so you
Yeah.
cannot create excuses
Yeah.
like if I haven't done what you've done type of
And if
thing.
they're messing up and somebody can't fix it, you go, you fix it, they watch, they learn, and now they have to do it. You lead them from the
Yeah,
front, not the back.
powerful. I seriously, I thank you for your time. Guys, definitely, the big takeaways from this interview, I think, like going back from to the beginning, your upbringing, learning those micro lessons that you might have not realized in the moment, but I think once you got into business, you're like, oh, okay, I learned that from this guy, from
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
getting into the place that you wanted to get, and then having it feel like a prison, which is ironic in a way, and then deciding, okay, what's the next one? What's the blue ocean? What's the next
Yeah.
step? What's the next key hires? What's the, you know what I'm saying? Always what's next, but at the same time, constantly looking at the board that you have now. Like, okay, where am I at? Like you said, working backwards, but
Yeah.
also moving in small steps. And I truly believe, and I want to be a living testament to that, where when you guys are seeing the podcast, when you guys are seeing the vlogs, when you're seeing the agency, of stacking up the small wins. Eventually, you're gonna have that one big one that just when you get the interview with this guy, Patrick Bet-David, you get the interview
You're
with
going
Rick
to get
Ross.
it because you're building it.
It's that, but the
And
small
they're going to
steps
call
lead to
you. You know
that.
what they're going to call you?
What?
Lucky.
Maybe. No, no, I don't
But
think they will.
you build your way to it.
I don't think they will because I've said on numerous podcasts, I said for Rick Ross, I said for Tyreek Hill, I said for Patrick Bet-David, because those are all people that I'm interconnected very
Yeah.
closely.
Yeah.
Like without them realizing I'm very closely like to them. And I've spoken into existence and I haven't like there's only so much you
It's
could
going
do
to happen.
sometimes.
You're
There's
doing all the small steps to get there. You're going to get there. And when you get there, they're going to call you lucky. But you literally did every step.
yeah.
And you're going to, everything you want is going to, it's going to be there.
And I hope to be a living testament to you guys. I know I will be a living testament to you guys because I've said it multiple times that I know exactly where it's going to happen. I know exactly where I'm going to interview this person. I know how exactly the questions
Yeah.
are going to go. I know it's just a matter of one.
Yeah.
And if you feel that way, that exact same way, maybe you should follow. Maybe you should stay along and follow the people so you can be inspired by hearing his story, hearing other people's story. But seriously, guys, if you guys did make it to the end, I really appreciate you. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Make sure, sorry, make sure, all right, I'm gonna tag all your stuff on
Okay, cool,
your
cool.
website, your Instagram, so you guys can check out the man behind the story. So you guys can see the proof, you guys can see the numbers, you guys can see the impact. And more than that, I want you guys to really take home what are the small steps that you could be doing that you don't want to do? What are the things today that you can be proactive with that you're not? Because I'm a firm believer in it and I want to be a living testament. I think I am. Small steps, small wins feed you energy to keep going. And don't be so focused on the end goal. Don't be so focused on, for me, don't be so focused on the interview with Rick Ross. Don't be so focused on the interview with PPD. Don't be so focused on that interview. Focus on just the small steps. Focus on speaking into existence. Focus on walking by faith and not by sight. So if you guys
Mic
did make it
drop.
to the end, if you guys did make it to the end, guys, I love you.